Hey everybody, what's going on? Epic Stage Journeys and then some. Hey, the Dallas Stars are in the playoffs. We just won last night. We're 2-1 against whoever those idiots are up in Canada. And to my Canadian friends, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you like that. But hey, man, it's hockey. You know, rules are rule with hockey. So y'all suck, and we're gonna win it. So anyway, we're gonna get this thing started. I asked him back again because he's had more views than anybody at this point. Why I don't know. I think they're trying to help the special needs or something. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And there he is, Mr. Eric Love. God help us all. What's going on, E?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Hell, I'm just sitting here and enjoying the wonderful inside of my studio, or whatever you want to call it. What's been up to, man?
Well, I'll tell you what, I have had a card dealt to me, and I'm sure people that are watching have had a card dealt to them. But my dad's 81. Everybody knows him around here as Buckwheat. And old Buckwheat
Yeah.
has beat the Grim Reaper. He's got a great attitude, but he's beat the Grim Reaper about a dozen times. And he had a pretty nasty fall the other night. And boy, I think we're on a downhill slope that's not good. So
He fell
need a little
again?
bit of a nurse. And I had, I'll tell you something. We talk about relationships. I made one phone call. I needed to get a haircut for him right now at his apartment. And boy, the guy that I called is the guy that I've had a relationship with forever. He said, I'll be right there. Came over and gave him a haircut. And if you've ever had a haircut and you're like not in a good situation health wise, that's everything. So
Oh,
shout
I
out to
trust.
Todd Stroud, Midway Barbershop over in Euless. That's my guy, man.
Go Todd.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
Todd.
no, I feel you, man. The lady that cuts my hair, she comes by the house and does it because I can't go anywhere. I'm
Yeah.
kind of stuck, and so she swings by every month and just cuts my hair for me. But until I can get out of this
And
mess,
listen, you got to love people that really do go out of their way for you. You
oh
got to
yeah,
love them, man. I
yeah,
mean,
no, she does.
basically.
She definitely goes out of her way to do that because she has to come all the way over to the house and do it, and then she has to go back to her shop and do all her stuff. And so yeah, I get that. That's up. Hey, what we didn't talk about last time when you were on was I wanted to bring it up because we need to talk about it. It's important to me. It's important to you. It's important to a lot of people. Your nonprofits that you do, and I
Yeah.
want you to talk about that a little bit and tell everybody what it's about. I need to get it out there.
So love, it organically grew. Lisa and I have always, we're both servants. We enjoy having a servant's heart and taking care of other people's. If we see a need, we like to address it. And when Lisa and I got together around 2019, 2018, we'd been together since early 2000, like 9, 10-ish. Uh, we decided to form a nonprofit. And her mother's name was Sandy Ashenberg. And every time that Lisa would get off the phone with her mother or her sisters, she would always end the phone call with love. And, that was the end of the call. Ironically, it's my last name. It worked out well. So we named it Project Love. We went and bought a bus, and we do a lot of outreach for the homeless. We do a lot with Texans Can Academies. There are a lot of students. And when I say there's a lot of students, sizable number that are parents, and they're still in high school. They haven't graduated,
Hmm.
and that's kind of a forgotten um sector of people. So we make sure we provide Christmas for those young families. We let them come on the bus, and you've seen the bus. It's
Oh yeah,
pretty wild and crazy.
that it
We let
is.
them come on the bus and pick out some very, very nice gifts that have been provided. And, Lisa always puts a great team together. They wrap it. And that way that student goes home because the student, most of these students don't work. They're still children. And, people will say, yeah, but, they're having kids. Well, you got to understand cultures. Culture is a big thing
Yep.
and a lot. It's part of the dynamic. And we feel like our need is to service the need we see. Um, we're not here to educate nobody about anything other than we see a need. We want to take care of that need, and we're grateful for our partners that hop in and do that with us.
Yeah, you've got some really good partners. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff they've given you over the years, and I did. Tom Thumb was just dropping food on you guys left and right for a long time. Are they
Yep.
still doing that?
Yep. So their corporate policy changed, and that's something that you have to deal with. Sometimes policies
Yeah,
change. Some things go for a while, but yeah, for years, we were able to transport the bakery items straight
yeah.
over to, and you saw their busloads
Oh yeah,
bakery items. And Tom Thumb on West 7th was in downtown Fort Worth. That was our main supply store. But they have corporate changes, and we understand that.
yeah.
We're grateful for everything that they did provide, but uh, at the end of the day, it's just like when you see a need, you want to address it, and that's how Love came about.
Yeah, it's you guys have done really well with that, and I mean, I I look at it for somebody who's a complete and total asshat like you can go. You've got a huge heart, and I'll give you that. I will give you that much. That you've got a big heart, and you've got a wonderful wife. Lisa does a great job, and I got a question about Lisa.
Yeah.
When you piss her off, does she scream and yell at you in German?
Well, you know what? So I know my role here. I know my role here in these four walls, and I know I don't. If I ever get spoken to in German, I know I fucked up,
Yeah,
right?
you screwed up. Yeah.
So man, hey, I walk a pretty thin line over here. We never have any issues, but it's about respect. If you respect your spouse or who you're with, stay within the respectful boundaries. You ain't gonna have no problems. Now it took me a long time to learn that, as you know, been
Yeah.
married a lot. But boy,
A few
God fixed me
times.
on this one.
Yeah, I bet he did.
Yeah, he
Because
fixed me. Fixed me
I
on
think
this one.
I told her that one time. I said, when you hear somebody speaking in a German accent, speaking German, they sound like they're angry all the time. And I was like,
Well,
why?
I'm gonna throw this out there. I also know what they're capable of.
I bet you do. Oh, and the other one that I want to talk to you about is cars for kids. I know you do that, and that's kind of a passion for you also. What's that all about?
So, and I'll tell you, I wanted to do something fun, right? After we sold the company in 2019, I wanted to do something fun. And they asked that I come over and go to auction school and be a chief auctioneer for them. And I am. So, Cars for Kids, right off the card, out the kid. Me and you have talked a lot about that organization. You have donated a lot to that organization.
Yes,
Your
we
mother
have.
has donated a lot to that organization.
Yes, you did.
And I'll tell you something, it's funny. I bought a couple of vehicles. I would be out here doing stuff, and all of a sudden, I didn't want to move them around. I'd call and say, "Come pick it up." I've donated a lot, and
Time to go.
what's great about that organization is the company that we ran. We serviced all of the schools as a security provider. So I saw the dynamic work of that school. Okay. One of the first kids I ever met at the school was a kid that was always in trouble. And when I'd go over, they thought I was a cool old guy back then. So I don't know what I am now. But I would go visit this kid,
Gotcha, old dude.
and I would ask him, I said, "Man, why are you always in trouble?" "Man, that's all I know." I said, "Man, kind of reminds me of me." I said, "What's your story?" I said, and you know me pretty well. I don't want a fucking health report. Don't tell me. Take your story, make it 1 minute. That's what I like. I don't want a bunch of shit. He said, "Okay, I'll give it to you, Mr. Love. My dad is on Texas death row." Well, right off the bat, you're thinking, fuck, that's a bad deal, right?
Yeah.
How about your mother? She was killed in the event that landed my dad there. I'm raised by a neighbor. Um, I guess it's just what I know. And it's really a great story because I said, he never wanted to go back to Pleasant Grove. That's where he's from. And I said, "Here's the deal. You can make anything out of yourself. You can." I introduced him. I said, "All you got to do is graduate. I'll introduce you to somebody, but you're going to have to get the job, but he'll give you an opportunity." So he graduated. I introduced him to someone. He's now been working there probably 7 years. Yeah,
Wow.
7 years. Makes really good money. And guess what? Never been in trouble. Never been back to Pleasant Grove. And he's doing quite well.
Good for him.
So like that's like a personal win story for me.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. What about the young kid that came with you when you came by to pick up the one thing here at the house that one day?
DK. Oh,
The,
well,
yeah.
he talks about you. He talks about your wife. Talks about your mother. a lot.
Oh,
So
my mother loved him. She thought he was the man. He was the kid. So
I'll tell you something. He's the nicest kid. He's the
he
nicest
was.
kid. So he's a graduate of the Texas Can Academy. When he graduated, um, he quit school because his mother got sick. He had to go get a job.
Yeah.
We ended up giving him a job, but we said, you got to graduate high school. We can't. And so he's a great success story. He quit school, got a job, help his mother, help his family out with bills. Mother was very sick. And over a period of probably a year, he becomes employed with us. He graduated. He's still employed with us. And anytime I go somewhere, especially if I say, I'm going to go down and pick up a car from one of my friends, they're donating it. And he's like, Big Juicy, can I go? Well, yeah, I already know what this is going to entail. They know if they ride somewhere with me, I'm going to buy them whatever they want to eat. We're going to get some scratch offs. We're going to probably listen to a little music. He likes going places with me. So he's doing great, man. He really is a good kid. I like him a lot.
Oh no, he's a great kid. I had a good time sitting there talking with him. He was just like you said, he was that story that, you
Yeah.
can do it if you apply yourself to want to do
Yes.
it. And that he did because, like you said, he left school, he got a job to help his family out and of course, and of course, the kids come back around and gonna give him a job if he finishes high school, and he did. And he was the nicest guy on the planet. He came down, he was very well spoken. He was just, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. He's just a good kid. He
And one
was.
thing I like about him is, like the other day, I had to go up towards Oklahoma, and I said, "You want to go?" And he's like, "Man, please." Well, come on. So we went up towards Oklahoma to pick something up, and I like because he always asks me questions, and he says, from a long time ago, when I first met him about 4 years ago, the question was, "What's the key to success?" I said, "Your attitude." I will take a person with a great attitude and a horrible skill set, and I can make them stellar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I said,
exactly.
attitude's everything. And he said, what's the second thing? I said, good credit. And he looked at me like, what the hell? I said, listen, this cat right here was divorced a lot. So I know what a lot of bad credit looks like at one time in my life.
Mhm.
But I said, there's nothing better than having excellent credit. You just go in and sign for whatever you want, but you must have discipline. And so I've showed him how to get his credit score up. And he's like, he's teaching his family. They never heard of it. It's a real simple step. If you got bad credit, um, I don't charge for anything. You know what I'm saying? I, I learned it myself. Let me show you how to do it. And that way you don't get decapitated over here on your interest rate. And
Yeah.
it's really good to watch him, grow in that manner.
Good. Yeah, he does, man. He just has this, he's just set. He's just got the mindset. I can see it in him. He got that mindset. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this work. And he just came across as just a very, an individual that was just ready to go. Let's get it done. Let's do it.
What?
And I
I'll tell you
appreciate that
something
about
funny
him.
about him. We're at a red light the other day. I was telling my wife about it. We're at a red light the other day, and some girls pull up next to us. Now, about the size of my couch. Okay, these ladies. I like being nice to everybody.
That's right
Okay,
up
I
your
do.
alley. Hey, you used to date couch size ladies all the
Let me
time.
tell you something. I've
No,
witnessed you date some of the biggest
no,
women
no, no, no,
I'd
no.
ever seen.
Do not bring us no.
Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
No.
they live
Mm-mm.
because I've seen them with him. Anyway, I roll his window down. Hey, I roll his window down. And I said, have you ever met Rick Ross? And he's sitting there because if you look at his face, he looks like a little bit thinner Rick Ross. And he goes, ha ha. But he's embarrassed. You got to get out there. You got to have some fun. But he's a great kid, man. I love him.
Yeah, he was my mother was real impressed with him. She loved him to death.
Yeah.
When you got you guys came and got the motorhome that one day, so
Yeah.
and yeah, I saw that the guy that bought that lives here where we are now, and so I told Tracy keep an eye out for it if you're in town, see if you can see it.
And I tell you what, I like, especially after I auction something, when the auction closes, I hang around. I talk to everybody that comes up and pays for everything, right? And they like it too. A lot of them like to walk up to the auction booth. They've never seen it. They knock yourself out. and it engages them. And I thought it was very sweet. The lady that bought that, her husband was bidding on it. She showed it to her husband. They bid on it. And what I thought was really, really cool is the follow-up text message, because everybody ends up with my number. The follow-up text message was, we just went on a family, weekend outing, and we had a wonderful time.
Oh, that's great. That's good. I was wondering about that, how they were doing with it and everything. So,
Yeah.
because that was, she took very good care of that thing.
Oh,
And
it's like brand new. It's like a time machine.
it was. I mean, it's like she just drove it off the lot, and
Yeah.
I was wondering if they tried it yet, or if they used it, or if you took it out or anything. So that's
Yeah.
good.
So I know that they have taken it on their first voyage, if you will. And she said, we absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So make
Good.
sure
That's
you
good to
share
hear.
that with Mama.
I will pass that on to her and let her know that they are enjoying her ride, because
Yeah.
she was not going to use it anymore, and she's with her getting ready to move and everything, she needed to scale down anyway, and her house is done over here, so we're just waiting for her to sell her other place, and then she's going to make the move.
You
She'll
got to
be done.
admit, she's pretty spry for, what is she, 80 what?
Hey, let me see.
She's north.
She's 86.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's pretty spry. That's what DK thought was so funny. He said, Eric, you have some of the most interesting, fun old people friends. Fuck you. But he thinks it's cool. And
Well,
there's nothing wrong with being cool to somebody.
you could tell him he didn't want that at his mama. No, he didn't want no part of that, because she was very short when she said do something. If she told you, she would tell you once, and if you didn't do it, she would tell you again. And she always said, "I just did that out of courtesy, that maybe you didn't hear me the first time.
Yeah.
But if she told you the third time, God help you and everybody else around you, because she was coming, and she just didn't
My
play."
parents did not believe in the quiet corner. They
Oh
believed in
no,
the ass whipping section.
that ass whipping, yes they
The
did.
deep.
All my friends back home in high school, they remember her well, and they said, "Oh, I'll make her mad." So
Yeah.
she was very well known then. But well, that's
You know
good,
what?
man.
There's a lot to be said for any parent that's just a great parent. You can't be the kid's friend 24/7. You
No,
can unconditionally love them. Man, you got to have rules. And if you don't have rules, then you see what happens out here in the real world, and they can't
oh
get
my,
along, and
oh my God, it's
they got to
just
have some challenges, man.
just the shit that's going on now. It's like, really,
Yeah.
with all the crap in Frisco, and then I saw something. There was a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old the other day had guns, and I was like, geez. Whatever happened to just going down to the bike rack and throwing some hands, and then going out and get a Coke afterwards? That was real easy then, man. You just go and beat the hell out of each other, and then you go have a Coke, and y'all were best friends after that.
You know, it's crazy. I became friends with a person that I had great disdain for when I was in seventh grade, seventh and half of eighth. And his name was Bill Hughes. He was the principal at Smithfield Junior High. And my mom got regular calls of, this is W.L. Hughes at Smithfield Junior. Eric had a little problem today. It was always Eric had a little problem. Now, I didn't do anything bad, but I always walked on the line, just do some stupid shit. He and I became friends. He told me one time I was going to be in prison. And when I got a job at the sheriff's office and I was driving people to prison in transportation, I said, shit, he ain't wrong. I'm just
No,
not in prison, but
you're
I'm
not
going
in
to
there.
prison.
Yeah, you're just delivering. So,
And then when I got moved out to patrol, I made sure I found him and told him that I was not in prison. And in fact, he was pretty cruel to me, I thought, back in the old days. But I realized it was for the best of me. And here's the finished product. And he really liked that. And we became very good friends. And I always say things are 1 degree of separation, kind of. I was friends with him. He passed away this last year and a half or so. And what's crazy is he came over and ate dinner one night. And my wife actually saw him at a funeral before he had come to eat. And he's like, are you Eric Love's wife? I think that's how it went. She's like, yes. And she said, well, I'm Mr. Hughes. Well, he had been camping and hunting and fishing with part of her family, like family and connected friends back in the old days. So I say,
really,
hey, man, we're 1 degree of separation. You never know, man.
there you go.
So it was neat to be his friend later in life. And do you remember they used to have a thing on, I think it was MSN, Robin Meade in the morning that was always on, like a real, real upbeat news on cable. I submitted a real cool set of pictures of me and him, and they featured it on Appreciation of an Educator. And it made me feel good that he got to see, way back then, and kind of the hook line of, hey, this guy was instrumental in kind of straightening me out. And I've had a great career, and I attribute a large portion of that to him. And it's on national global news. Well, it made him feel pretty special. And I think that that's important too.
Oh yeah, I agree with you because I had a physics teacher like that, Mr. Rougeau, and he and I did not get along at all. Of course,
Fitness
because
teacher?
no, he was a physics teacher.
Oh, physics.
Physics teacher, yeah, he was my physics teacher. And we didn't really get along much because I had this attitude like, why am I learning this shit? I'm never going to ever use this again in my lifetime. So why am I doing this? And then further down the road, when I got in the business that I was in for over 30 years, that's all we used was physics. That's all that was involved in it was physics. So it was like, and I wish I could have gone back and said, you know what, you were right. I apologize. I was wrong.
Yeah.
But he had passed away. But his wife she was my biology teacher. And she was really cool. And so I got in touch with her one time and I just said, you know what, I never got a chance to apologize to him for that. And I did thank her because she taught us at one time. She said, "How do you make a hormone?" We were in biology. She goes, "How do you make a hormone?" And we were all sitting there thinking. And she goes, "You pay her $5. It's pretty easy." And I was like,
Don't pay her.
but yeah, I mean, the craziest things that we learn, we think we're never going to use it.
Yeah.
And then I started doing all this stuff, and I was like, "This is nothing but physics." So, hats off to him, man.
You know what I think is important, and I like doing this. I like sending letters to people. Nobody gets mail anymore. Everything's on the computer.
Yeah.
But you see all the boxes I send out, right? I send them all over the globe. Okay. I don't sell nothing. You know that. I don't sell nothing, but I sure like throwing that name anywhere I can throw it. Thus the hat. Manufactured by a really great family, Tag Custom Products, located in Cleburne, Texas. Go see Gavin and Tracy for all of your embroidery needs. But I'll tell you, I have gotten so many nice things. I mean, I sent a thing to a West Virginia senator not long ago, and he has an English bulldog, baby dog, and he sent me the nicest letter back. I just sent him a swag box and a letter, about him and his dog, and I think it's awesome. And I wanted him to have something from Fort Worth. So and I'll tell you what, I want to thank you and Tracy for something. When I first started, buying hats, anytime I approach you guys with one of my projects, I'm never worried about you guys, number one, saying no, but number two, I really enjoy coming to you guys. So like when I did the Joe Exotic, when I wrote the presidential pardon request for Joe Exotic, and we did that thing on Netflix, and I came down and said, "Hey, Tracy, I need something." She's like, "Oh, no problem." I said, "I don't think you understand. Here's the jacket. I need this like right now." And she's like, "It's no problem." Remember, we were going to Washington, D.C. the next morning, and I wanted that
I remember that.
on the back of my jacket so I could troll all of the Secret Service folks on the cameras. And the great thing is I've got a Secret Service guy that he's retired, and he told me the best areas to go get maximum coverage. So by design, I had her put that on the back. It said, "Pardon Joe Exotic." And I stood in I had to keep looking at my phone for the map. And I went everywhere, and it was wildly populated on the inside because someone on the inside we know said, "Oh, you guys are on all the cameras this morning." Excellent.
Good.
I always appreciate you guys doing stuff for me.
We like doing stuff for you. Hell, you're okay. I guess here I'm gonna do this real quick just for her. There it is. So if you're looking for good embroidery screen printing, there it is. Tag Custom Products.
And I want to give you a better plug. Can I?
Sure. I hope. I don't know.
No, listen. So you know that I try to get these hats on everyone. I like giving them away. I like mailing cool boxes. I like mailing these these shirts. I've won 2 times now on Instagram where I haven't had to pay for these. I
Yeah, I
told
remember
you.
that when you did. Yeah,
Yeah,
you told me that.
I won a contest and I didn't even put in for it, but somehow I won it. Who cares? And they said, how many sizes do you want? You get 100 free shirts. I'm like, okay, this is probably a ripoff. I don't know, but here's what I want. Well, it came. Well, I started giving them out and they said, you don't charge for those? I said, no, I send them everywhere. Where are they at? All 7 continents. They said, no way. You know what? We're going to send you another 100. All I had to do was give them a thank you video. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm pretty grateful for that connection.
Hey, it did. I mean, the big juicy thing really took off, and it did really well. I mean, you did a billboard in Fort Worth. I remember that.
And you know what's funny about that? That came up just one day. I just thought, I've never known anybody that put a billboard up for a dog. Think I want to fucking do that. And I was just sitting in my office calling. Have I ever told you this story?
I don't know if you had or
I don't want
not.
to bore you with it, but I'll tell you. I
No, just
called
tell me
Clear
anyway.
Channel right down the street. That's my guy right there, Big Juicy. I called Clear Channel right down the street. And, I always get the new guy, somebody brand new. And he said, yeah, well, what do you sell? I said, well, I don't sell anything, but I want a billboard. So come on down. So I go down, I walk in, and there's a very polished person in a suit. And they said, oh, how can we help you? I said, I want to put a billboard up over in Fort Worth. I think it'd be pretty freaking cool. What do you sell, sir? I said, I don't sell anything. And I looked about like this. So I looked like a hillbilly. All right. He said, they're very expensive. I said, I'm fucking rich. And he just kind of looked at me like, you hillbilly. So they give me the new guy. And it was his first day. And he said, yeah, they told me I probably wouldn't make a sale for, maybe 2 months. It takes a long time in this business. I said, well, I like your attitude already. I want a billboard. I told him what I wanted. He said, I'll send you a mock up. He said, now, do you know how expensive these are? I said, yeah, I know. I might take 3 or 4. I don't know. And he got a chuckle out of it and he thought it was funny. And they sent me the artwork. Um, they sent me about 5 different variations of that artwork. I picked one in there. I said, I want the cutouts. I want it bigger than the billboard. Well, that made it even funnier to them. But you don't sell nothing. I know. That's the story. They put it up, and man, I got a shit ton of, just why did you do it? I said, well, man, I'm a pretty passionate guy. I love my dog. That's why. And I love Fort Worth. That's it. You're not getting paid. How expensive was that? It was a lot. It's fun.
But it was. In case anybody's wondering if anybody wants to know, this is what this is all about right here. That thing right there. That's the juice box right there.
Boy, that's how it started, man.
That is the man.
Yeah.
What a great dog.
Yep.
He was so good. And I'm sorry to get a chance to see him before he was gone, but he was having we rented each other. I met you somewhere in Fort Worth to drop some stuff off, and you had him, but he couldn't get around anybody because he couldn't get excited or anything like that because he had some issues with his heart and stuff. So I didn't get a chance to see him. But he was such a cool dog, though. He was funny.
And you know what's funny? Things in life happen for a reason. And man, as you get old, you definitely soften up. And, having him in my life, man, it made me a much more giving person. It made me a much more empathetic person to anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody has their own language of, if your wife sees you do this, oh, that Gavin's going to love that. If I see him doing this or displaying this, that means he loves that. So when I started, whether it was taking him to the vet and getting the very best care or buying him something, I spent a lot of fucking money on him, man.
Oh
And I
God.
loved every minute of it. I
Yeah.
did.
Here's another one when we were all hanging out and I think that we were hanging out in Cars and Coffee with that one time and you brought him out and well everybody just loved that dog. He was something else.
Yep.
But
But
I
it started when we flew the helicopter down to Mississippi, and I had a guy making me coins, and I wanted something real different. And instead of giving a card out, I like giving a coin. And all it says on it's Fort Worth famous Big Juicy, has my phone number. On the back, it says living life as big as Texas. That's it. That's it. And
There.
I ended up getting a company to make the heavy coins. That's really what I wanted, and that's where we're at now. But between the coins, the hats, the T-shirts, the flask, the bumper stickers, man, it's the funnest. It gives me something to do, man. And I feel like I still have a lot of skin in the game. But I mail these bumper stickers all over, and they'll send me pictures of where they stick them.
Where they
A lot
stick
of them
them,
will
yeah.
go to dive bars and put them up. It's fun, man. It's fun. And I
Hey,
feel like, I was keeping his name alive. And, he
well, as long
passed July 18th of last year. So,
I know he is dearly missed. He was a great dog,
yeah.
and I know how you feel because we had two dogs, and now we have three dogs, and my mother just happened to be driving home one afternoon or one evening, and she lives on 4 acres. Well, there's an older gentleman, his property's before hers, and he has gas wells on his property. And she drove by, and it was this poor old dog. He looked like a puppy, and he was just out there by himself. And she called me. She goes, "There's a dog down the street," and I was like, "I don't know." And so she goes, "Well, I'm gonna just when I go by tomorrow, I'm gonna give him some food." And I said, "All right, do that if you want to." Well, that you know how that
I
goes,
know how it
and
goes.
you know how that goes, and so now we're a proud owner of an Anatolian Shepherd. His name is Murphy. He is. I bet he's not 6 months old yet, and he's pushing 80 pounds now, and he's probably going to be in the hundreds before we're done with him because
There's nothing better. So, Peanut or Ollie, Lisa, we've had him a couple years now. We drove down to Houston to get him, and we got him as a little tiny baby. You could fit in your hand. Well, now he's young adult. That guy is a Shih Tzu, and Big Juicy freaking loved that. I mean, he freaking loved that dog, and put his arm around him. I posted a picture that was in my memory today. They're laying on the couch, and Juicy's got his arm, around him, and I'm like, man, that to me that makes you a better person. So especially like when I come home, from anything,
yeah,
I'm so excited to see Peanut because man, we just fucking love him, and it doesn't hurt that he loves us back.
yeah. It was interesting when because we have a cat also, and she was a friend of ours has a feral cat out on her property. Well, she keeps having kittens, and I said, "You're gonna have to fix that cat, or you're just gonna have kittens about every 5 or 6 months. You're gonna have a new litter."
Yeah.
And so she had a litter, and I said, were any of them born without a tail?" And she said, "Yeah, I've got one that was born without a tail." I said, "I want that one." So she took it out and she played with it and gave him just a little bit of human touch because he was feral. And we got him and we named him Milo. And
What'd you
then
name him?
Milo. And then
Milo.
Milo, yeah. And then
Okay.
Tracy yelled at me one day and she goes, "Something's wrong with Milo." So I went in there and I looked at Milo and I said, "I think Milo's in heat." She
Oh,
goes, "What?" And I said, "Yeah." And
bingo.
I looked at that. And so Milo became Miley. And so we've had Miley's about
Oh,
two now, I think.
you didn't understand the plumbing on that one.
No, it was somebody didn't. But she was she's still small. She's still a little cat, but she was so tiny when we got her. We just we couldn't tell anything.
So
But
you know what's crazy? I started noticing these little baby cats in my neighborhood, and they're like feral cats. They're not
Mhm.
anybody's. I just started noticing them. And man, you talking about getting soft? I was sitting up there smoking one day. I looked down, and I'm like, oh man, these fucking guys are hungry. So the biggest simp going to the grocery store buying cat food. Looked like a
Yep.
looked like a total old granny at
Mhm.
this point. And I
That's
feed them every
me.
night, watch them on
Yep.
I know. And now I'm putting water out for them and feeding them every night. And, Lisa last night was making fun of me, not making fun, but, she's kind of got a laugh. Thank you. Kind of got a laugh that, I'm like, I turned into a fucking cat guy. Yeah. Pretty
I, you know,
soft.
I I did that too. It was funny because we have a lot of feral cats, but we have people around us that have large pieces of property. They've got livestock and everything, and so they keep the cats in the barn. Those are the mousers. They kill all the mice and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you've got like you've got the Anatolian shepherds, the what are the big white ones? I never can't remember their damn names, but anyway, they have those, and those roam the fields and take care of the smaller livestock and stuff. And that's what Murphy did. At first, when we got Murphy, he stayed in the backyard. He would not come in the house. He wanted no part of it. And I could hear him every night, and I could hear him moving around, and I could hear him barking in the back side of the house, or he's over off the left side or right side, because the coyotes run back to the back behind us, because our neighbor back there's got like 15 acres, and we always got coyotes running. And man, you can hear him go off. But he didn't play. But now he came in the house, and he figured out how to get up on the bed with Tracy. So now he sleeps with Tracy every night.
Yeah.
I said, there you go. You got your new dog.
Hey, look, man, these animals got it figured out.
Yes,
Now,
they do.
Big Juicy, he wouldn't last 2 seconds out in the wild. Okay. He'd have a mean bone in his body, and he'd run out of breath in about 4 steps. But as a bulldog, but like our Shih Tzu, man, I think I treat him better than I did my kids. You know, my kids are all grown, so who cares? Man, he is like an infant to me. He really is.
I'm trying to count. How many kids do you have that you know about? There's 3, right?
No, so I have Allie.
Yeah.
You know her.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a daughter named Sarah that lives down in Alvarado. I have threw a curveball on you.
Yes,
I
you
have a
did.
son named Chase.
No, I know him.
My youngest is Gabrielle.
Yeah. So Gabby Chase.
You know all them. You know the Three Stooges.
I don't know the one in Alvarado though. Where did it? Okay.
So all right, I'm going to tell you. And I think it's important for a person to be honest with themselves, and you know it might help somebody else. So I will tell you this: I worked at the sheriff's department. I was just going through a divorce. Going through a divorce. Terrible. Not really. It was. Went through a divorce. Allie has a lot of medical problems. I was always in the hospital.
Yeah, I know. Poor Allie. She's
And a young lady became pregnant. Uh-oh. I had my hands full, and I said, nah, I'm gonna pay child support. I'll pay child support, but I've got to focus on my stuff. And I mean, I literally had my hands full. Single parent, very young guy, catastrophic type medical issues with my daughter. So paid child support for about 2.5 years. And I get a call from her, and she said, hey, I met this guy. He wants to be her father. We all want to have the same last name. Will you sign your rights away? I thought about it. I'm a young guy. I'm a different man today. In the moment, I signed my rights away. Okay. And yeah, I had never met Sarah at that point. And I'll tell you, when you look back, anybody that knows me, you know how much I love my kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anytime I tell somebody that story, they're like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm not ashamed of it. It's what made me me. And, when she turned 18, part of the deal is you can't contact them, but she contacted me when she turned 18. She said, I know that you're my father. And we met. And at first, I'll tell you something. Boy, I'm new in a relationship with my wife at that time. Okay. It's 2000, early 8, 9. I don't know. It's way back then, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, God damn, if this don't run her off, fuck nothing will, because I'm thinking she's gonna really see me as what a loser. And I learned a lot about empathy from someone, and they see maybe something more in you than what you see yourself. And I told her, and she was like, well, you need to meet her. So of course, me at that point, I'm very emotional because I've been carrying this around in a backpack for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I shared it with, I had to share it with my kids, and I thought they were going to think I was an absolute fucking loser, because I thought I was, terrible. Shared it with my kids, and of course, they're like, man, we want to meet her. And I have a good relationship with her. It's kind of funny. I like scratch off tickets. Her birthday was this last month. And when I said, what do you want for your birthday? You want cash or you want something else? And she said, I want scratch offs, but I need you to buy them. I win a lot, dude. I'm telling you, I just won a while ago. I can't help for winning. Every time I turn around, I win a scratch off.
Well, help a brother out. What are you doing?
It's a cross I got to bear. How do you think I pay for them hats? How do you think I pay for that stuff?
Yeah, we appreciate it. Just keep doing them scratch offs, pay for them hats. I'm with you on that one though.
Yeah.
And just, in
So,
case anybody wonders, yes, we did this hat. So just if
yeah,
anybody's wondering,
they
so
do everything. I will tell you this though. In that story, here's what I learned. I learned that sometimes men carry a bigger load than they should. I probably should have shared that with someone, because once it all came out, I felt a lot fucking better about myself. I mean,
yeah, I
I
bet.
did. When I finally told my kids, I've been through 2 other marriages at that point, and they learned about it, and they're like, how did you not share that with anybody? Man, it fucking beat me up because I was disappointed in myself. But in the
You know,
moment,
it
but
happens.
in the moment, I knew that, she needed someone that could be there for her. And I was physically and emotionally unavailable because of, I don't want to say because of Allie, but because of her medical issues. You know, I'll tell you this, the Tarrant County Sheriff's Department was very good to me in my 18 years that I worked there. I had to take off sometimes. And you know what? They, they were very good to me. I'll say that. And I had a great career. Another part of that career, I interfaced with you, didn't I?
Oh God, I guess so.
Let me just get it
When
out there. Me and another off-duty deputy, we were single at the time. We go into rockin' rodeo. What was that all about?
they
7
were
o'clock.
ho dogging and rocking rodeos that they were
We
doing.
went into rockin' rodeo, and I see this big guy. Back in the day, Gavin was a giant. Now, he's turned into a little peepaw now. But back then, man, he's a big, big dude. Yeah, you're a little peepaw now. You're thin. You're not so massive like you were. And I see
Now,
these 3. They were little dudes tuning him up like a French guitar. Me and the other deputy went over and peeled him off. One of them bit me. I wish I would have had this ring back then, so I'd give him a little El Paso. But we saved his life. That was one of the first times I saved his life. And then a person come around the corner. Oh, Gavin, are you okay? It's a blonde-headed lady. And I'm like, I recognize that person. And that person said, oh, hey, Eric, how are you? I knew her in high school. Very nice lady. Okay. Fast forward from that moment on, about how many years was it? About 6, 5, 4? About 5.
no. I don't even think it was that long. It was like 90. I think we met like in 92.
Yeah,
And
I just
then,
wanted you to say it. So he
eh,
came to me and said, "Man, you're not going to believe. I heard this something horrible. We maybe we partake too much in partying. I'll leave it alone at that. Okay." And she's going to make me her soulmate. She told me this. Well, when he told it to me, I said, "Uh oh, somebody knows something that is not in the case file at work. Let me finish telling the story." I go open the. Now we're not mentioning no names. But I opened the file. I said,
no, don't mention names.
motherfucker, everything he just told me is in this file. I close it up. Oh boy, Gavin. Did you know I recorded you that night? You didn't at that
Yeah,
night, you didn't.
you told me that afterwards, you asshole. You never. Of course,
Oh, that's right. You were one of
me,
the ones that I was good to. That's right.
yeah, exactly.
Again.
Me, I think I'm sitting at breakfast. We used to go to breakfast after we'd close up and stuff, and we'd be sitting there at breakfast, and you and I were sitting there one night, and we were talking about something, and she came up or something. The name came up, and I said, "Oh, let me tell you something about that," and not thinking that I think I'm talking to my friend, but actually I'm speaking to an officer of the law first. Never mind the fact he's my friend; he's still an officer of the law first, and I respect that. But I start rattling off this story, and you excused yourself for a minute, and then you came back, and that's when you set up the recording because you recorded me when I told you all this. You butthead.
But you got to remember something. You didn't get in no trouble, did you?
Hell no, I didn't
I
get
made
in
it very
trouble.
clear. Hey, this guy knows something. We got to protect him at all costs. And, hopefully, it's still a cold case. They have all the things, but what we did learn? That person's mother slept with everybody to keep everybody quiet. It's the craziest story. And I had a meeting with the Bedford, Texas police chief, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I brought it up to him. I said, we're probably going to film on this when we get a little bit bored. And he was like, I need to, because they know.
It's they know, everybody knows. Hell,
Everybody knows.
I gave it to them on a platter. What the hell else did they want? I mean, I sat down there. I sat there with the investigators for like 2 hours, and I told them all of this. I gave it to them verbatim, what came out of her mouth, and I said, "There you go." And then they started. Then they go, "Well, we know you're not lying." I said, "Okay, tell me how you know I'm not lying." And that's when they pulled the folder out and started showing me all the pictures and
That
everything
night
I
that you
told.
told me, that night that you told me,
Mm-hmm.
I was having the Grand Slam special. I remember like yesterday, a cup of coffee and a Mr. Pibb. And you told me, and I put the recorder in. After it was recorded, that's when I told you it was recorded. Yeah. But remember what I told you? I said, I'm going to protect you because you're giving me information that in true goodwill, that's what a good cop should do. And I kept my word. But man, when I went back and opened the folder, I said, motherfucker, here you go.
It was scary, wasn't it?
It was very
Because
scary.
because they showed me pictures that I told them verbatim what this looked like or what color this was or what this or how this worked and they showed it to me and they said, "Yep, this is what you said right there. Here's this, here's that, here's that." And I was like going, "Okay, now I'm getting freaked out about this because it was I didn't know I didn't really know how to take it because we went out that night. There was a bunch of us that went out. We'd all been drinking and stuff, and it wasn't anything. I mean, we weren't getting stupid or anything. We just went out for some drinks, and she kind of got hammered, and we ended up back at the house, and it just and she got weird. She always got weird during the holidays.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, she always got weird on the holidays.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, what's wrong? Well, my dad passed away. He had a heart attack, and this and that, and yada 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 yada, and I thought, okay. And then that one night we had gone out and we'd been drinking and stuff, and she started up with it again, and we started talking about all this stuff. And I finally just said, look, you're gonna have to talk to me about this. I want to know what's going on. And it was like The Exorcist or something. Something took her over, and she just laid there and she just started rambling all this stuff off. And I'm going, what the hell did I just do? I said, I've opened Pandora's box is what I did. And I mean, she went on a tear, and I thought I I can tell you this: I slept with one eye open that night because and that was kind of the end of it right there. So, but and when you had laid it out and told the guys at Tarrant County that what had happened, and the investigators came out and saw me about it and all that, but I thought sure that was pretty much a grand slam. I mean, that was just
I did too.
they had it all right there in their hands, but
here's what's crazy. Everybody that was involved in that is dead. Every person that was multiple players in the deal, right? Everybody's dead except her.
Is her mom gone? Is her mother?
Everybody's gone. Yep.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, everybody's dead. All the investigators on the original case, everybody's dead. But I do think something will come to fruition on that. And when I talk about good stories, I like that story, how it came up. Another story I like real good is how you met your wife. Tell me how you met your wife. That's one of my favorite stories.
How I met my wife. Oh my God. Where do we start with this one?
When you came in the door and she was passed out. Oh, I love that.
So there was down in Deep Ellum, which is downtown Dallas, and people that don't know, there's a lot of bars and stuff down there. And a friend of ours owned a bar down there at one time, and I don't think it's there anymore, or it may be there, but he doesn't own it anymore. And we got into this thing that when we all closed the bars down and stuff, we would all go down to his place in Deep Ellum, and then we'd get locked in, and we'd just sit in there and drink Coke and play tiddlywinks and stuff, and we played cards and stuff. But we were always drinking sweet tea and Coke and stuff like that. We weren't getting crazy or anything like that. Yeah. And so I'm sitting at the bar one night, and I'm just sitting there, and a guy walks up to me. Dude got really long hair. And he goes, "Hey man, how's it going?"
For those of you just now joining, Gavin was by himself. Go ahead.
Yes, I was by myself. I don't know why. I don't even know who I went with that now. I don't even remember. But I'm sitting there at the bar, and a guy comes up, "Hey, what's going on, man?" We start talking. He's got real long hair and stuff, and I said, he asked me what I did, and I told him. He goes, "Oh, that's cool." And he said, "What do you do?" And he goes, "I play guitar." And I was like, "No, I'm shocked. But he, he told me what band he played in, and he said, "What's your name?" And he told me his name, and I said, "I've heard that name before." Apparently, he ran in the same circles as all of us, and I just had never met him before. I'd heard the name before, but that. And so we sat down there. We were sitting there talking and stuff, and he finally goes, "Oh, hey, I want to introduce you to my girlfriend." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so we go walking into another room, and there was these two high back chairs, but the backs of the chairs are facing us. We can't see who's in the chairs, so we go around and he goes, "Hey, babe, this is Gavin. Gavin, this is Tracy." And there's his girlfriend. She's passed out in the chair. She's drooling on herself. And I just said,
Beautiful.
"Hey, look, pleasure to meet you. Don't get up. We got this. We'll visit again sometime." And we went back inside the bar area. And as I walked off, I thought, I'm going to marry that girl. I really am going to marry her.
That's amazing.
No, it wasn't, because I wasn't going to fucking marry her. There was no way, no way in hell I was going to marry her. And what happens after that? Well, then they start showing up. Her and her boyfriend start showing up at my bar, hanging out.
That's how it happens.
And I'm like, why? But you know my wife. Now, you know her. And she is a flirt to no end.
Yep.
And it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just, she's a flirt. And I can't put it any other way.
Here's what it comes down to. Hide your wives, hide your husbands, hide your children. Gavin gonna get them married up.
Oh, yeah, whatever. So speaking of which,
she's the best thing that's happened to you.
There's one for you right there. Looks like she's sitting on your thumb or something. I don't know what y'all are doing in that picture. That was a wine festival, I think. But yeah, they started hanging out there. And now the lady that worked for me and kind of helped me run the bar, her name was Barbara, and Barbara knew her from back in the Dallas City Limit days, when they'd all go hang out at DCL and go, see the band. Pantera played there. Everybody played there. And so when Barbara saw her, she pulled me to the side and she goes, "You're not messing around with her, are you?" And I was like, "No, she's here with her boyfriend." She said, "You stay away from her. She's bad news." And I went,
When's the
"Oh,
wedding?
okay, sure." And then I walked away and I said, I've got to marry this girl. I've just got to do it. But she just kept showing up with her boyfriend. And then one day he was gone. He was out of the picture. And I had no interest at all. I was, I owned a bar. I was busy enough as it was. I was seeing 3 other people. I owned a bar and I was busy. I wasn't like you. I wasn't getting divorced and stuff. And I had.
Man, I was doing it like a sport. What was the name of that bar?
You're gonna make me say it, aren't you? It was called the Den. The Den.
Over in Euless on 157.
DEN. Yes, in Euless off 157.
That was one of my favorite places to do a traffic stop on somebody one time.
Yes, it was. You ass. you did plenty of traffic stops out of that place. I can say this. I can honestly say that I'm probably not in jail because of you. I think that's probably one good thing about knowing you is that I think you managed to keep us out of jail. And you weren't dumb. You knew what we were doing, but I think you kind of kept us at bay. And it was just like, if you'd come up and said, "Hey, you need to chill out. You got this, 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 this," and I'd say, "Fine, whatever. We're good to go." And but yeah, to have a friend like this is something else, because I probably would have been in jail. And because I talked to Holland K. Smith last week. He's a blues guy, and he used to play at my bar, and he hosted the jam on Thursday nights. And we were laughing about it because one night Holland, he played the first set, and they all went outside because he'd go out and smoke, and they'd all hang out and whatever. Well, he went outside, and Barbara yells at me, like, before we get ready for the second set. She goes, "Gavin," and I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Holland's not going to be here." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "He's in jail." Yells across the bar. I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, he's in jail." And I was like, all right. So luckily, the guy that was helping me, Johnny Mac's old blues guy too. And so Johnny Mac stepped up and he took over the second set. Well, then about midway through the third set, Holland shows up. He got out. And so they decided that when we were going to go out and smoke, he didn't say what they were going to go out and smoke. He just said they were going to go out and smoke. And he said, I broke the law. Anybody's given rule is that you don't lock yourself in the car and smoke. You don't lock yourself in a car, smoke pot. If you just stand outside and do it. Cop walks up and you can flick it out. You can do it because and the smell's gonna go away. Because, but no, it was
You got
so
to just flick
cold.
it out. Man, who
Yeah,
was that?
and he goes, it was so cold out that night that the guy that was the head of the record label that he was on was there. He'd come down to see him, and they were both sitting in the van in Holland's van smoking a joint.
Oh,
And the cops rolled up on him and caught him. And Holland just stood up and said, "It's all I did it. It's all mine. Everything. You want to keep the other friend out of it because he didn't need it." And so they just took Holland to jail. And you know what they took him to jail for?
what's that?
They had dropped the joint they were smoking. They had dropped it, and it fell in between the seats, and they could not find it. And so they went rummaging through the van because he had one of those vans that had the couch and the one like you had back in the day, the white one when you used to ride around and yeah, whatever. Okay, but
That was the check-in.
and they got in the back of the car and somebody had left a small pipe in the back in one of the cabinets in the back, and they pulled it out and they arrested him for that. That's what he got busted for. And he got out, and he got out on the it was on the terms that he did not get in trouble in Euless for 6 months, and he had to pay like $300. And I said, "Well, you got
I'd
off
have paid
pretty easy there."
1,000 if nobody would talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But we talked about it last week, and we just had a good time with it. But it was just he goes, it wasn't. He goes, and then I got home and I said, "I got to find that joint." So he goes, "I dug through that," and he goes, "I found it." He said,
Yeah.
"I finished it," and I said, "Okay, well, as long as you got to finish it." But I thought that was. But I told him, I said, "You're the only person I know get busted on the first set, be in jail the second, and make it for the third set." And he did. But
Well, you know,
it
I'm not
was,
a drinker. I'm not a drinker. You know
yeah.
that. Not a drinker. And everybody knows alcohol is a hot button issue with me. I've seen it ruin careers. I've seen it ruin families. Anytime you can't control something, it doesn't matter what it is, but I've seen it a lot with alcohol. Okay. And my kids will tell you, I don't like a health report. Get to the fucking business at hand. Better not have any issues. Get to the business. I get a phone call one night. Old Chase Love down in Mexico.
Oh shit! Not in
Oh,
Mexico.
listen to
Oh
this
my god.
idiot. Now, you know, he's my golden boy, right? He's my golden
Yeah.
boy. He calls me and says, "Man, I got to tell you something." I said, "What?" Now, he's on vacation. I don't take vacations. I'm at home. I'm having to deal with somebody's bullshit. I said, "What?" He said, "Man, I'm arrested." I said, "Man, it better be for something other than alcohol. It better be." "No, it's not. They banned me from the resort." I said, "Motherfucker, you just got there today. You still got 6 more days of this, right? 6 nights, 7 days." I said, "You got a fucking problem." So one thing I have learned in life, I don't bail people out. Now, I'm going to help my kids. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to help. But I guess he ran his mouth a little bit. And the cop that worked there, the quarter cops, he gets on the phone with me and he said, "Look, we don't want any problems. Your son tells me that you're real good friends with Vicente Fox. Your attorney has represented Vicente Fox, the ex-president of Mexico, right?" I said, "Well, here's the good thing. Those attorneys are mine. They're not his. He ain't got nothing. I want to make sure, because I don't want to get extorted through him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
By them through him." And it was really nice. He said, "Listen, they knew who this attorney was. He's one of my closest friends right here in Fort Worth, Francisco Hernandez. He is the man. I'll just say." But they were very. He said, "Listen, he won't be here that long." I said, "Listen, you got to learn a lesson. You can't just get out. If your parents get you out of everything, guess what? You're gonna be a shitty person. I don't mind there being a little sting to it involved. I really don't. And my kids will tell you. And I think that's why they have all become very successful outside of this one issue for Chase in Mexico. But I told him, I said, "Hey, good luck." Chase get back on the phone. I said, "Listen, good luck. You'll sit there for the remainder of the time. They're going to let you out at some point." And I've always said it might not be a good story today. Something might be horrible today, but in 10 years, it'll be a good story. And that's kind of what that is.
Well, yeah. It's with all the the crap that we did over the years, that's all we did was create stories for
Yeah.
ourselves to tell like now. But so what did he do? He just get drunk and act like a fool, or did he?
Well, you
Or did
know,
he act like dad? He tried to put it in something he didn't need to go into.
well, again, 82nd Airborne, great kid. This was his only flare up. If you want, like Theo Vaughn, I had a flare up. Um, at the end of the day, it's nothing. But it was something that when he came back, he didn't want to face me because he knows that the alcohol issue is something that's a real killer for me.
Yeah,
You got to be
I
responsible for yourself.
you do, and I don't. I was not a big drinker either. I the way what I grew up with was the alcohol was the issue, and so I didn't really have any desire about it. It didn't entice me. But it's all the other stuff that did. That's the problem. See, it
Yeah.
wasn't the drinking. It was the whatever else was going on. But I'm not mentioning any names or anything. Or
But a lot of people get addicted to stuff very easy. I mean, they really do. When
yep.
you're a kid, when I was a kid, I never thought I was going to be old and fat. Here I am. You don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? And in your mind, if me and you're just having a conversation outside of this, I'd say, Gavin, how old do you feel? You're probably going to give about a high 30, maybe mid 30s. That's how most guys like feel. What I mean by that is how I feel up here. We can't do what we did when we're in our 30s, but
No.
I still feel very young. But I say this a lot. Go out and fucking do something. There's a lot of people their whole life ain't done dick. You got to go do something. Do
Yeah,
something.
you've got to kind of step out, enjoy it a little bit. I I think I did. I retired last year? I guess it was last year. I
Yeah.
retired. Yeah, I officially made it last year. I made it official that I was going to go ahead and retire, but that was because I had to. I didn't have much of a choice in that one. My body just said, "No, you're done." And so, we're still trying to fix that, but we'll see what happens. But it's yeah, go out and have fun, enjoy yourself. Don't be stupid, but just go out and have fun. Get out and
Go out.
see things.
Most people don't fucking enjoy life. I'm going to tell you.
Mm.
Go out. Some of the best times of your life, you know this. Looking back, some of the best times when you didn't have any fucking money.
There was there
You'll
was
look back and go, man, remember how simple that was and how much fun we had?
well, yeah, because it was the fact that we didn't have much of anything, but we had each other. We had the places that we all went. We knew how to take care of ourselves. There were no camera phones. Thank God for that. Because
Think about how blessed we are not to have that in our life, like the
oh
kids
no,
are
I
now.
agree exactly. There was no social media. I think social media is it's just the armpit of the nation in itself.
And it takes
And
one measurable moment to totally fuck that person up forever.
yeah, it does.
They can say or do something and they're measured by the video that it's on and it can fuck a career quick.
It does. And I used to tell people that. I used to tell people that all the time. I said, you just got to be very careful about what you put on social media. I had a friend of mine one time. He had an old Tommy gun. If you can believe this now, it was a cool gun, but it was fully automatic. And he's out there in his pasture, and he's out there shooting that thing one day, and they've got videos of it. And I sent him a
Oh,
message, and I said, hey, dumbass. I said, you do know that it's illegal to own a fully automatic firearm, right? You do understand that. And he texts me back and goes, yeah, I'll call you in a little bit. And
they're
got back
dumber than
on
dick.
got back on social media. All the videos disappeared and everything. And I said, don't put that shit up there. I said, next thing you know, the feds will be knocking on your door going, I believe you have something we need to pick up. And I just don't, I don't, I use social media for our business,
Yeah.
for Tracy's business, and I do stay in touch with some people still through that. That's how I've gotten a whole lot of people to do this. To do this was through social media. But
Yep.
other than that, I don't get too involved with it because I don't give a shit when you had a surgery and had that mole taken off your ass. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I
The
don't
last thing
care that.
somebody wants is a health report. If I
Yeah,
say,
I
Gavin,
don't.
how are you doing?
No.
and you start telling me about your gout, I'll drive 48 miles to Cleveland and slap the fuck out of it. I don't care. It's not that I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I got my own
Well,
problems. I just don't want to tell you with it.
don't slap me if I've got gout. That hurts, man. When you get slapped with gout, that really sucks.
But
I
you know
mean,
what I do like about social media? You see that I've been pretty hot and heavy on the school district up here, right?
yes, yeah, I have been seeing
So
that.
there was a viral video that went out. Here's the very, very high level overview. A viral video goes out. I said, God damn, these two teachers didn't do dick. They didn't even tell them to stop. These two men could have stopped these two 13-year-old children from fighting.
Oh, those
And
two
it
boys
ended
are
up
fighting.
in a
Yeah.
very serious situation.
Mhm.
One kid gets arrested. One kid has to go to the hospital. Bad deal. So I said, as a private investigator, I know a lot of little tricks that really get people's attention. And one is open records request. And I think the school year, I don't know, last school year they had a handful. Well, this school year, I've set a whole district record. I'm just one person because I'm asking for very specific things, building a reason or justifying a reason for an ask. So when I started submitting all these FOIA requests, open records requests, getting all of this stuff from the attorney general and from the school district, guess what? It took a little bit of time, but we were just over a month's time, and they did a full district. Um, uh, it's not considered a policy; it's considered a procedure change. And I've harped about schools outside very, very limited issues. Can they be sued? Okay, because of immunity, and that's a whole different topic, but they can't be sued at the end of the day. It has to be really super gross negligence. And it's a very small window. And they knew that it looked like I was going for a lawsuit. I wasn't. I was just going for a policy change. And then the superintendent, I'd spoken at a couple different school board meetings. All of the former employees and current employees would message me because I keep everybody anonymous. And guess what? Last week, I was asked on Tuesday morning to come meet with the superintendent, and he said, I want you to know that we are affecting change. It will go out. And the next day, I started getting emails from all of these people feeding me information. They said, we can't believe it. So you can make a difference.
Yeah, I've seen you do it, so I know you
Well,
can.
social media really helps.
It does. There are some good things about it, but there's a shit ton of it that is just really not good. You know what I did? I did something I swore I wasn't going to do, but I did it anyway. I downloaded TikTok one time because the thing I liked about TikTok was their video production. It was
Yeah.
better than what Facebook was, and so I
Yeah.
started using it to do videos for the store, and then I would take them and post them back on our page in Facebook, and I thought that was really cool. And then I started kind of looking through it and going through it, and I went, no, I am not doing this shit. There is no way. And and I mean, they were talking about stuff that was like, how do they even let y'all talk about this stuff? And so I kind of shied away from that. I was like, I don't need all that crap. There's
Well,
just nothing good about that.
I do like a couple. I follow, quite a few people on TikTok. I do like, you can get better news reporting, truthful news reporting from folks from TikTok that are either on the scene or live versus the news, because it seems like it's been proven, and it seems like sometimes you don't get the full truth from the 4, 5, 8, 11, or the.
Well,
I just stay
some
away
of
from
the
the news now.
some of the shit I heard on TikTok made absolutely zero sense. If I if, if I hear one more thing about the Frisco incident, I'm just going to pull my hair out and scream.
One
I'm
more
done
thing
with
about
that.
what?
About the Frisco incident,
Oh,
and pull my hair out about
and
that
you got to
because
realize there's a lot of people that want to just, they stay in business by dividing. They do. They stay in
oh
business
yeah,
by dividing.
yes,
So, I tell people all the time, if you got toxic people in your life, get rid of them. I don't care if they're
little
family members, friends. Get rid of toxic people. You'll be more
cut it
successful.
loose. Yep, you got to cut it loose because it does nothing but take you down.
Yeah.
And they don't have a problem going down, but they're going to take somebody with them.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'd let that go because you go through that. And I was like, and it was just a bunch of armchair attorneys that were sitting there, here's what happened. Here's what happened. I said, well, how the hell do you know? I said, you're in New York. How the hell do you know what happened in
Yeah.
Texas? Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
you don't know shit. Just be quiet and go away. But, oh no, everybody knows everything about what's going on. And I said, nah, I can't deal with this. So I'm just, I take care of the stuff at the store and I've got a page, but, and I do this, but, I do this for fun. I don't want anybody to think I'm trying to
Well,
do this
it's
to make
also a
any
good
money.
outlet. It's a good outlet. Talk about stories. Talk about,
Yeah, that's fun.
I had a friend of mine. I posted a picture that with Richard Branson the other night on something and tagged a song to it. And a guy said, "Man, tell me about interfacing with him." I said, "Man, I've been to his private island, Necker Island, and I did a lot of fun stuff. You know, you and I both dealt with a lot of celebrities, and a lot of people think it's something like, man, they're just normal people. They just, usually have a better wallet, maybe even a better lifestyle, but they have their own headaches, you know." We're on a one of my projects, and I remember a guy in the bathroom singing, and it's someone that's, I guess he's uh, if you notice somebody, they're famous, right? If you just see their face and you go, oh, that's John Legend. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not a big John Legend fan, but I can also recognize talent, and it was cool. He was on one of the projects I did, and we were down in the Bahamas and went to Necker Island and had a, pit bull, had a whole bunch of folks, and it was fun. But like, I wouldn't want to do that now. But man, I'm glad I had those memories because I had a fucking great time.
Yeah, that's for the kids to do it now. I'm like you. There's some things that we did that I couldn't do now. There's no way in hell. And like you said, yeah, a lot of the people, a lot of the stars and the rock and roll guys and all this. Yeah, a lot of them were good people. There's some that weren't that great, but it just depended on who you met, when you met them, and everything else. But there was when you said they had issues like everybody else.
Sure.
And you know how I know this? Because I worked with Gary Busey one time. Let me tell you about somebody that has issues. Good God, that man has a basket full of them. So,
You ever see
but
the picture I took out behind Cowboys in Arlington with Busey?
I don't think I did.
I'll have to send that to you because it was funny. He was standing out. That was before he got hit in the head and turned all googly goggly. He was a little bit more normal back then. And he was with a lady that was very attractive. And trust me, she was only with him because he had a name. That was it. Because there's nothing screaming, hey, I am a catch. That dude is ridiculous. Anyway,
He's
he
gone.
kept looking at me, and you can't tell if he's cockeyed or if he's if he's interested. I don't know how you say that. Are you cockeyed or interested? Maybe both. Anyway, I said, how you doing, Gary? And remember, I was sergeant at the sheriff's department patrol. And he said, are those handcuffs real? I said, well, yeah, I just took it out and I clicked one on him. I got him right off the bat. Click. And he kind of looked at me like, what the fuck? And the lady goes, take him with you. I ain't taking him with me.
I remember that lady because you remember the stairwell that went up to the green room, the big tall stairwell that they had to go up and down.
Yeah.
I remember Gary and his that woman that was with him, they were going up the stairs to the green room, and the house band, was coming down the stairs. And the guitar player, his wife, or she may have been his girlfriend at the time, anyway, she was with him, and her and Busey's woman or whatever she was had words on the stairwell. And the biggest damn cat fight you'd ever seen broke out on the stairwell. And I
I
was
love it.
like, geez, what are we doing?
I thought
And it
women were
was,
supposed to be supporting women.
God
They
almighty, that
don't.
was just, I don't know what started it. But it was just the damnedest
Well, I can
fight
tell
you'd
you
ever
what
seen.
started it. That lady that was with Busey, her boobs were in a whole nother zip code. So probably going up the stairs, you know, and she had
That
them
could have
on
been that.
display. So that's probably,
Yeah,
I can only
that probably
assume.
what it was. Because I
Yeah.
remember he cornered one of us and he goes, "Where am I?" And I said, You're at Cowboys in Arlington." And he goes, "No." He goes, "What state am I in?"
Yeah. He's a fucking idiot.
And I was like, "Well, you're in Texas." And he goes, "Oh,
Buttered
okay."
sausage. You
He
seen
didn't have
that?
a
Buttered
yes,
sausage.
buttered. When I saw that, I just kept thinking to myself, all the crazy shit that he used to do to us. And
Yeah.
and he was that one time he came in and he was going to, and Shenandoah was one of the house they were playing,
Yeah.
and he was going to, because he had just been in the movie, what movie was he in? Uh,
It didn't do much.
it did, but anyway, he was in that movie, and he wanted to sing with Shenandoah. So he showed up with his guitar, and and Shenandoah came in the back, and he didn't see him come in. And so I sent them up to the green rooms, and I caught their manager. And I said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And he goes, "Yeah, what's up?" And I pulled him aside, and I said, "Gary Busey's here." And he goes, "Oh, shit." And I said, "Yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
And he wants to play with you guys. He's expecting to play with you guys." He goes, "Where can you keep him?" I said, "I'll keep him wherever you want me to." And he said, "Well, right before we go on," he goes, and I had the schedule and everything. He goes, "Give us about 5 or 10 minutes before we go on and take him and just put him somewhere." He said, "We'll get on stage and we'll get it started. And then if he comes up, I'll just say, no, no, we've already got sets ready to go. And we're just not going to make any changes." And so that's what we did. I took him and stuffed him in I don't know where I put him for about 10 minutes before they started. And then when they got started, of course, he comes running out. They're about 3 songs into it. He comes running out, grab his guitar. He goes, "I got to get out there." And I said, "Well, hang on. You need to talk to their manager." And he was right over there, and they went over and talked. And then I saw him put up his guitar, and he just walked off. So
You know
he
what's
went,
weird about him? Before he had that motorcycle wreck, his light switch wasn't on.
no,
After he had the motorcycle wreck, the light switch was sideways. I mean, that's a weird dude. He's a
it
weird dude.
was. Yeah, he was odd. There no doubt about that. He was very odd. I'll
Yeah,
give
odd.
him that. God Almighty, he was a handful. Jesus, enough of him. Ugh. So, what else was I going to ask you? Hell, I don't know. I figured you've. Oh, I saw the picture you sent me today. This guy sitting here next to me, or well, actually, his picture's next to me, sent me a picture of a big box of Williams chicken.
Oh yeah.
What?
You
And
know what? You should thank me right now. Think of all the times I fed you.
you didn't feed me as much you fed all the other guys that were looking for you
I
half the time.
guarantee it.
Oh
Every
my
time we
God.
worked at Cowboys, I would go up. Hey, I can't help it. I was real handsome. I don't want to fight the feeling at this point. I was real handsome back in my day.
Oh yeah. Oof.
And I'd go up and they'd just give me free chicken. And they would say, "Oh, how many's working with you tonight?" I said, "Well, there's 6." And she'd give us enough food for 20. And, she just wanted to know the legend. That's fine. I took all the chicken. Remember the corn fritters? Holy dick.
Yeah,
They were
those were
good,
good.
man.
I'll give him that. The corn fritters were good. I'll give him that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
where did you find a Williams chicken?
Oh,
I
they're
don't think
found
I've ever.
all over South Dallas. I got an office over there at Cars for Kids, and I went to I've got one of the guys that runs one of the chicken shacks over there in Pleasant Grove. See, I'm a guy. I'm not scared to go anywhere. I go to Pleasant Grove all the time.
Yeah, if
I
you're
got a
down at
lot of
Pleasant Grove, no, you're not afraid of anything.
I got a lot of friends over there too. But like I
Yeah.
I go to a lot of areas that people say, "Oh, you shouldn't go there." I'm like, man, I've never had a problem. Most of the people know me over there, but I never ever had a problem, and that's probably one of my favorite stops, Williams Chicken over there off, take CF Han, get off, go down.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, when we were in the business, we ate that stuff all the time because we could afford it. It was cheap and it was somewhat good. So
Yeah.
there was, it was
It's
the
good chicken.
go-to. It
Yeah.
was the go-to. We had to. We didn't have anything else around there, so we just had to go to
And they
Williams.
appreciate it. They appreciate it. I'd always put one of the deputies kind of up there in the parking lot, and they got to keep an eye on the people at the chicken shack. And that made them feel good. So they didn't mind give us, you know, chicken, sweet tea,
Mhm.
Kool-Aid, whatever we wanted.
I could hear him yelling at that crazy white boy out front. Give him some more chicken.
Now they do like this. I said, "Oh, he's here.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll give him whatever
whatever.
he wants."
Yeah, whatever. Big sexy Eric, sexy Eric's at the door. Give him whatever he wants.
Uh-huh. That's how it
My wife,
works.
even my wife goes, "I wish I'd have known him back in the day." And I said, "No, I know you better than that. I know you. You know what? She could have said, you know what? I've been dating Gavin for 5 years, and you've been really well. Can Gavin do this? So I know how you were. I know exactly how
Mhm.
you were.
Man, I'll tell you one thing that you and I can both say: we found the right women's to be in our life. We found the right woman to be in our life. Man, I hope she throws some shit at you right now.
She can't. She's not in there. She can't see me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
she's a
I
pretty good
think
egg.
about some funny stuff anytime I think of you and her. I think about everything from pulling you over in Euless after you left the bar. I knew you were in there doing things you probably shouldn't have been, but that's
We
fine.
were cleaning and playing darts. Don't even make up the
You ain't
story.
clean nothing. That thing still smells like bar rot. 1972.
Probably does.
Yeah. But I
Wouldn't
pulled you
surprise
over
me.
and I
He
played
did.
Christmas music, and you were up there like, what in the hell's going on? You roll your window down, and it's the gift that kept giving. Here we
Yeah,
are.
it was Eric Love with the playing Christmas music to the PA
Yeah.
on his car. Yeah,
But we have had a good long friendship, man.
yeah, we have. It's been there. Yeah,
Yeah, a long time.
long time since 91 or 92
Yeah.
when we first met because you were getting your
Back in the
ass kicked and
1900s.
I had to come get you getting your ass kicked by
Yeah.
that little
Y'all heard
Mex
he
that little
didn't interject when I told this true story.
yeah
You got your shit kicked from east to
hell
west. I'm like, these
whatever.
three little guys, how do they do it?
I had to go over and pull this mad Mexican girl off you whipping your ass, and I thought, no, I'm gonna save this poor guy.
No, trust me, ain't nobody believe you right now. Trust me. They know. They
They
know.
don't, they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
They know.
How you flipped the script on that one, I don't know how you did that, but you managed
Talent.
to get that to
Well, ain't
where,
nothing wrong with truth and talent. When you got both, here we are.
yeah,
Truth and
okay,
talent.
okay, yeah, we'll run with that. Truth and talent is what it is. So, Jesus, Murphy.
We had many good times, that's for sure.
Yeah, that we did. My God. Well, I think we've gone through quite a bit. Of course, I know we'll scrape up some more here another month or so. We'll do it again and see what else we can pull it down over each other's eyes and see what's happening. But is Lisa home? She's home, and I saw her earlier.
Yeah,
She's
she's
done.
home.
Okay.
She's the one that had she like runs everything. She's smart. She's my IT person. She came down here. Couldn't figure out how to even get this thing going, and
Well,
now we're
because
online.
you're dumb as a rock. I know.
I am dumb
You
as
can't
shit, but you know
you
I'm proud
are.
of it.
As long as you're
Just
proud of it,
remember,
hey.
as long as you got a fat wallet, you can be dumb as shit.
Yep.
That's true. We know a lot of those guys, right?
I don't have a fat wallet, so I had to be really smart when I
Yeah.
did. So.
Yeah, Big Bank Hank down here in Cleveland.
Yeah,
Oh,
whatever.
woe is me. You're
Yeah,
so
what was me?
stupid.
You come sit in this damn chair for a while and tell me how you like it.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. And you know what? Kind of what we touched on earlier. I do think it's important, man. Do something. Don't waste your life. Go out and fucking do something. And you know what? Like when I first met Lisa, I told her everything about me. I thought, man, I've been married too much. And I fell in love with Lisa. So I told her everything. I like wrestling, and I think it's a true sport. I tell her all of my shit, right? And about 30 things. When I'm done, I said, now tell me about you. What's something weird I need to know about? She said, well, I like Harry Potter. And I went, God, what a fucking geek. But man, it's like the most perfect relationship. She's a great woman to me. Man, she helps, does everything. And there's nothing better for a man than to have the right woman in their life.
Well, it's kind of like with Tracy with me. She's a total Marilyn Monroe freak, and I still can't get my head wrapped around that one. And it's funny because when I don't know, we were sitting around somewhere one night, and the subject came up about Marilyn Monroe, and of course my mother had to chime in, and she goes, what's interesting about a dead whore?" And
Damn.
to watch, now this is my mother, you know her,
I know.
and
She has no filter, dude. None.
no, well Tracy doesn't either, but my mother has she has a better vocabulary than Tracy does. But when she said that, what's so exciting about a dead whore? I just kind of watched Tracy kind of just melt right there in her shoes, and she goes, "Well, she's not," and I went and I just kind of nudged her and I said, "Just let it go, just let it
Ain't gonna
go."
work.
Nope, not gonna work. Just let it go. And
Hey,
there's a couple times when she got into it. She wished she'd let it go, but oh well.
so you know how like we talked one time about things that are interesting to like they might be very interesting to you, but I don't care about it, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in North Carolina one time. Now, are you a NASCAR person?
No, I mean, I'll watch it every once in a while, but I'm
I
not much
don't
into
give
it.
I don't give two fat shits about NASCAR. I just don't. I don't care. I don't care if you like it. I don't like it. Okay. I'm at a place, I'm getting gas. This was like 2016 or 17. And the guy said, "Hey, do you know who that is over there?" I said, "That little white guy?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's Dale Earnhardt Jr." So I acted stupid. I go, "Who's that?" And he goes, "You don't know where you from?" I said, "Texas." I said, he said, "You don't like NASCAR?" I said, "I don't give two fucks about it." Well, of course, he comes up. He's used to being acknowledged, acknowledged. "Hey, how you doing?" I paid for my stuff. I'm sitting there scratching a ticket. And he said, "Hey, how you doing?" Very nice guy. So I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying, I know the name. I don't know who he is. And I scratched a ticket, and I think he was in a Corvette. And when I finished up, we're walking out. I held the door for him. And I said, "Do you live around here?" And he said, "I do. About 4 or 5 miles." I said, "Well, I'm from Texas. I'm going to this location." I said, "I'm Eric Love." And I stuck my hand out and shook his hand. And he kind of did like this. And this is when you got him. He went, "I'm Dale Earnhardt Jr." I said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." I said, "Wait, are you the race car driver?" He goes, "You're not a NASCAR fan?" I said, "Fuck no." And people respect you when you're funny, but respectful about something. I
Yeah.
said, "Man, I just can't get into it." I said, "I'm kind of like on the spectrum. I took an autism report not long ago, and I'm showing to be autistic or something. I am. Or that's what a computer program said. I don't know." I said, "I just don't have the attention span for it." I sat there and talked to him probably 10 or 15 minutes. He said, "Well, welcome to the state." Very nice. "Welcome to the state, man. I hope you have a good week." And he said, "If you need anything autographed," and I probably should have took it at the time, but I don't know anybody that likes NASCAR. So it
Were
was
you up?
just nice pleasantries.
Were you up in Charlotte?
Huh?
Were you up in Charlotte?
Was a what?
In Charlotte,
Yeah. I was
that's where you were.
like
Okay,
North Charlotte.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where they're from.
that's where the NASCAR museum is in Charlotte,
Yeah.
because it's right across. It's right over by the convention center. Because
Yeah.
I saw it all the time. If we were there in the convention center, it's right there. You can't miss it. So, but that's kind of everybody goes, oh yeah, it's over by the NASCAR museum and all this, and or it's the Hall of Fame or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know where it is. So, but it's not a big thing for me either. I didn't really care much for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me and
I
you.
got. Go ahead.
I was just saying, me and you talked about don't meet your heroes, right?
Right.
It's usually disappointing. And I always liked Gary Stewart. And that time I had to answer that, call from my friend that owned Hoots down 1187 in Burleson. He said, "Man, Gary Stewart's playing New Year's Eve here and he's passed out." I said, "Well, where's his manager?" "Oh, he's passed out next to him." I
Right
said,
next to him.
"Man,
Yeah.
that totally ruined it." But man, I went through, 3 divorces with that guy.
He was one of those guys that he would do two shows for us, and he would do an early show and then a late show. And after the early show, I had to put somebody with him. I had to have a babysitter with him to not let him drink,
Yeah.
because he had that wreck. He had that accident, that car accident,
Yep.
and he was on this medication that was like time released morphine. And if he took it, he could not drink.
Yep.
And because I remember he drank one time, and I was standing down by the stage. I might have been in the monitor pit, and the show had just started. He came out singing everything, and then my monitor guy goes, or somebody in the pit with me goes, "Where'd Gary go?" And I look up at the stage, and he's nowhere to be found.
Oh.
And I was like going, "Oh shit!" And what he did was he just came out playing, singing, having a good time, and just walked right off the end of the stage, out into the crowd.
Yeah.
And luckily they caught him, and we got him back up on the
He only weighed
stage.
about 84 pounds. I mean,
No, he didn't weigh much at
I'll
all. He
never
wasn't a very
forget
big
when I
guy.
had to pick him up and say, "Look, I don't want to put you in the Tarrant County Jail tonight, but y'all get some coffee in this guy." I said, "You're not drinking anything?" He said, "I play better when I'm drunk." I said, "Well, I don't
Mhm.
want to take you to jail. I've listened to you through, three marriages. You're my guy on a breakup. God damn, alcohol ruined it for me with this guy.
Oh yeah, he was something else.
Smelled like an
It
onion
was,
too, man. That ruined it too. Smelled like a fucking onion." God. Fucking
I just
thing, man.
I remember I used to get calls if he was coming. I'd get a call and somebody'd yell at me and say, "Gavin, the phone's for you." And so I'd answer the phone and I said, "Hello," and you'd hear this, "Hey, Gavin, what are you doing?" And I'd think, and I was like, "Oh yeah, hey Gary, what's going on?" He goes, "I'm playing there next week." And I said, "Yes, sir, I know you're coming." He goes, "We got everything ready to go?" And I said, "Always got it ready to go for you, Gary." And he goes, "Okay, I just checking." And he'd call me a couple more times before he'd come out just to make sure everything was right for him. But he was always very kind to me. He was a nice guy.
Yep.
He just got caught in
Well,
some
some people love that
situations.
bottle, man.
Yeah, and that he did, but him and that medicine he took did not work together at all. So he
Yeah.
was something else. He was a great guy, but he's definitely missed. But there's a lot of them that were like that though. You weren't sure about. There was another guy that was like that. That was he liked to drink, and I got him out of some messes,
Yep.
especially down at Fantasy Ranch when he didn't need to be there.
Yep. Gotta
But
get that.
that's a different story. That's a different story for different days. So
Yep.
well, it looks like damn, clocks. Looks like we're about out of time. We've been doing this for a little while. But I definitely want to just get you back on so we could talk about love, and we could talk
Yep.
about cars for kids and talk about all the cool stuff that you guys do because you guys do a lot for Fort Worth, for Tarrant County, and I'm sure they certainly appreciate what you guys do for all of them. I know all those folks out there that truly are the ones that need it really do appreciate what you and Lisa do for them. So you know, and like I
Yeah.
said, you're a
She's
jackass, but you've
she's
got a good heart.
well, and I'll tell you, anybody can do something. And I always say that, man, do something, and leave your mark. We're not here for very long. We are not here for very long. It takes nothing to be kind, and I'll tell you, you don't know what people go through. Something as simple as me writing a letter to a guy and dropping it off the other day. I've known him most of my life, and he got a bad diagnosis, and the end of the internet's coming 6 to 9 months, and man, you got to have empathy for him.
Yeah.
And we're not here for a long time. Go out and do something for somebody else. Be kind. Buy somebody's lunch. Blind buy it for lunch. Just do something.
Yeah, when are you gonna buy me lunch? I'm still waiting on that.
Man, I'm gonna go to what's that the burger barn, right?
The burger bar. You
Burger
behave
barn.
over there. You
Huh?
behave over there. I said you behave over there at the burger bar.
I love the burger bar, man. That's
I,
some
I know
good
you do.
food.
That's
The
because
griddle, the griddle is like it's like the smallest griddle in Texas. It's like this big.
you know how old that griddle is?
It's like 100 years old, right?
Yeah, it's
It
probably a
looks
little
100.
over 100 years old.
It looks over
And
100.
and I've always said that's the reason why their hamburgers are so good.
Yeah.
So if you guys ever get it, if you're ever in Texas or if you're in Texas and you've never been to Cleveland, Texas, you need to come sometime. Go downtown and ask anybody where the burger bar is, and they'll tell you where it is. That building used to be a a stop for the Pony Express.
And wait,
That's where they would
when you say
stop.
building, let's talk about how big it is. It's a brick building.
So,
How big is it?
yeah. And I think if I stand there and hold my arms out, I can touch either sides of the walls, probably
It's
in both directions.
I
It's
think
little.
it's I think it's 8 foot deep and 6 foot wide. Maybe eight
Maybe,
feet
yeah.
wide. It might be 8 by 8.
Yeah.
But it's a great little hamburger stop, and it's a neat little piece of history.
Oh, it's
Yes.
great. Yeah, I know the guy that owns it, Casey Waits owns it. A great guy. And and I asked him when he bought it, I said, just do one thing for me. When he bought it, I said, do one thing for me. He goes, what's that? I said, do not touch that griddle. Not touch that flat top because
Yeah.
that is what makes everything good.
Yes.
And he didn't. He left it alone. And I've always said
Yeah.
there's another group in town that does burgers that have been there for quite a while too, but they're not as good as the Burger Bar though, because they know it's that grill. I'm telling
Yeah.
you what, that's what it is. That's what
Yeah.
makes
No,
it
I
good.
agree. I agree. It's great. And
Mhm.
it's cool looking little building.
And the
Almost
girls
like you
just
can hug it.
love Eric.
Huh?
All the girls love Eric. When's Eric going to come back by and see us?
Sounds like they have great eyesight and they can
Yeah,
appreciate.
whatever.
I'm just saying.
Blinded one eye can't see out the other, and there's no way. So
Listen, if you got any ugly listeners, and I promise, it is what it is. All you gotta do is have a little bit of game. Be confident. You gotta be confident. Be confident of yourself. Be confident of yourself. You can look like a mud duck got hit by a car, and you can
like
still do
him,
pretty good.
yeah. So
Just saying. These guys nowadays, not walking on the appropriate side of the road, not opening the doors, just, not sure of themselves. I wouldn't date them either. I don't blame these women. They got bad choices.
I know. There's too many soft hearts out there now. I think everybody's got such don't want to get their feelings hurt and stuff. So
Speaking of soft hearts, I need to go feed my cats outside.
go feed your kitties. Larry,
Thanks for having me on.
Hey Eric, it's always a good time. Everybody, as always, this is my dear friend, Mr. Eric Love. We'll have him back because everybody seems to like to listen to you for some weird reason. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Maybe
They don't like boring people.
yeah, whatever. You're definitely not that. So, but
I
hey,
love you, man.
I'll see you when we get here. Pick up your hats, all right? I love you too. Give my best to Lisa. Take care of yourself. Once again, everybody, that's the great Eric Love, the man, the myth, the legend
You're an
in his
idiot.
own mind. I am. I'm a total idiot. I can't help it. So, Eric, you take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thank you.
All right, brother. Bye.